Hey everybody, welcome to the ShabinLife. It's going to be time to plan out the suburban kitchen garden soon, so it's a perfect time to get started planting some seeds inside. I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride. I know that there's a lot of videos out there that talk about starting seeds indoors, and I've certainly watched a ton of them and learned from a lot of the other channels on YouTube, and I just thought I'd bring you along and show you what I do and what I kind of taken from each person I've watched, what I've picked up on my own over the years. Um, and again, if it helps you out, great. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've probably seen a lot of the ones that I'll mention, while I'm getting ready. I've got my seed start mix here. This is based on Gary Pilarchik, the Rusted Garden, his mix from years ago. It's just peat moss, perlite, and some organic fertilizer, a few tablespoons. I think I am using eco scraps, which is just left over from what I had over the last year or two. It's in here is 20 quarts of peat moss, sort of sifted. Took out some of the big chunks. I'm sure I'm going to have to go through while I'm filling up some of the cells. It's 20 quarts of the peat moss. It's 5 quarts of perlite, and I think that there's maybe 3 tablespoons of the organic fertilizer in here, and that's it. I also used a gallon of water to get this to the point where it was moist enough to hold together, but just enough to kind of crumble apart, which seems to work out perfect. Just enough to make sure that it wicks in water. Whether you're bottom watering or you're spraying from the top, that the peat moss, the water doesn't just sit on top, that the peat soaks it up. But I've got my seed cells here, or my seed cells here. I've got them all packed up, but just to show you what I do, super simple. Basically just come down the bottom, because that's probably a little wetter than the top from sitting around. I just basically lay it over, thumb push it down, which I'm sure you've seen a million times, and a lot of other people do the same thing. I like to kind of pack it down pretty nicely, not super squeezing it, but I want to make sure it's pretty tight. I'll move the seed start away to plant my seed, but I just want to make sure that whether I'm bottom or top watering, that it wicks up really well. Only way that's going to work is if you kind of get everything kind of packed down there real nice. And then that's it. I just do them one at a time. I kind of dig how Living Traditions does theirs. Kevin and Sarah, they have the seed sets, or the seed cells, that are the 72, and they're just the small round cells that's all in one sheet, and they basically fill up their entire sheet with the seed starting mix, and then they use an empty one to kind of press down, to get everything kind of compacted, and then kind of fill up and keep going with the empty one on top of the full one to get everything packed down. That's pretty cool. I use these because I have probably 1,000 of them, and there's no point in starting something new when I have a bunch of these still to use. So I just fill them up one at a time, fill out one of the trays, and basically just get ready to start planting some seeds. I use the little arts and crafts popsicle sticks. One to just to kind of pull the seed starting mix away to plant the seeds, and then also as a marker for what's inside the seed cells, as far as tomatoes, peppers, all that kind of stuff. I think I got this idea from Gary Pilarchik too, and again, I probably bought this in a box of like 1,000 or 10,000 years ago, and I have tons left, so I just use these whenever I can. Other than that, pretty straightforward. I'm going to do a top water this year. I've done both top watering and bottom watering, and I'm just going to try Sarah over at Living Traditions idea of just using the water bottle once or twice a day to kind of spray everything down. The bottom watering worked just fine for me too, and it may even have done better in regards to any damping off issues, but sometimes you got to fill the tray up, get everything back in here, let it soak up for 15-20 minutes, whatever. It doesn't soak up, you empty out, and I sort of feel like maybe the water bottle might be not faster, but it might be a little bit more convenient to kind of go through and just kind of hand spray everything down. And if nothing else, we'll call it research and development for seed starting, see which one works better. But that's it for seed starting mix and the trays. We're gonna start dropping some seeds in here, so rock and roll. All right, so I've just got I'm kind of using up some seeds that I've had for a little while now. I'm not even 100% sure how viable they are, if they'll germinate, but I thought I'd give it a shot and see if they pop up. So I've got a handful left of these Baker Creek Dad Sunset, which were an awesome tomato. I think I had them rocking and rolling maybe last year or the year before. And they did really well. They tasted really good. And I've got maybe, I don't know, 24 or so seeds left. So I basically just used this popsicle stick marked off at the 1/4 inch to make a little hole. This seed set I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm just going to drop a couple in each one rather than maybe across from each other to separate, because like I said, I'm not sure if these are going to do very well. We'll see what happens. They've been stored pretty well, but I'm just going to make a little hole. The little guide on there basically shows me how deep I'm going to the 1/4 inch. I'm trying to do it one-handed because the seeds are in my other hand. But I'm just making a little hole there in the center, and then I'm just going to go back and just as easy drop some seeds into each little hole. And you know, you could use anything to make your little hole, pencil or little stick, you know, whatever you've got. Again, I only have a handful of seeds, so I'm just dropping 1 or 2 into each, and we'll see what happens. But you know, even if I get just a couple to come up, that'll be great. And then just go back over, damp it down. And you know, these were filled up pretty well, so I don't even think I'm going to go back over them with any more seed start. I think that they're, you know, probably a perfect 1/4 inch down, and it will work out really well if everything germinates. So that's it. Go back, and then when I'm all done, I'm just gonna mark it down with the Dad Sunset. I'm gonna stick a stick in the back, and then basically that's how it'll stay, and they'll be in rows like this, so I know what's going on. And typically what I do is just break one in half, and then that way when it's underneath the grow light, you know, the stick's down there pretty deep, and it doesn't, you know, I can get them pretty close to the top of the light. But I'm going to go ahead and plan out some of these other guys with some black cherry tomatoes and some, I think these are yellow gooseberry, and some German pink tomatoes. The German pink I'm going to do an entire flat of from some seeds that I saved last year. There's probably, I don't know, there could be a few hundred in here, so I think I'm just going to do a whole flat. And you know, if everything works out and I germinate a whole bunch of them, I'll separate them out and replant them in something a little bit bigger. And then depending on, you know, what else I do that I have bulk of, I'll just take with me to, you know, we have a local flea market, and we have a couple farmers markets around here that I'll just throw a table up there and maybe sell them for $1 if I can. If not, and you only get a handful of extras, you know, normally all my neighbors have little gardens, so I'll just make a box up of, you know, a couple of each thing and just drop them off at their house so that they can plant. But I'm going to go ahead and plan out the rest of these bad boys, and I'll see you in a few. All right, so I've got this all planted out. Got some Dad Sunset, some Black Cherry, Yellow Goose, which both of those are basically a cherry tomato, and they're prolific. They're crazy. And then the rest of the flat is all Roma tomatoes, just because my wife and I eat a ton of salsa, so it can't hurt to have a ton of the Roma tomatoes. I'm basically just going to get ready to water this down. Just spritz it down each cell with a little spray bottle of water, and then I'm going to pop it on over to the light stand over here, the indoor grow light station, and wait for it to germinate. And then once it germinates, we'll pop on some lights and get them real close to the lights. But for right now, I'm going to grab a water bottle and get this wet down, and then bring over a new tray and get started on the next one. All right, so just to recap, because I'm sure I forgot a ton and I'll think of it once the video is posted. But you get your seed starting mix. There's tons of different kinds you can use. I just prefer this mix. It's a 5-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio. Again, in here I have 20 quarts of peat moss, 5 quarts of perlite, and about 3 or 4 tablespoons of an organic fertilizer. It took a gallon of water to get this to the point where I really liked it, as far as it getting mixed up and nice and wet. But you take your seed starting mix, fill your cells, pack it down, fairly tightly. You're going to make your 1/4-inch holes, use them, your stick or your pencil or whatever you use. Drop your seeds in there, cover everything back over, pat it down real good. You can bottom water if you want. You would then, basically fill up the bottom of the tray with water. Whatever the the seed cells didn't soak up in about 15-20 minutes, you would dump out, pop it back on your shelf. I'm going to try what Living Traditions Homestead does and use the water bottle this year and just spray the seed cells from the top, maybe once or twice a day. But once you spray them down, after you get it planted, you spray them down. Make sure you got them all marked out so you know what's what. Pop your tray cover on and put it in the area that you're going to have them sit and germinate. Everything takes a little bit of different time in regards to germination, but once you see everything start popping up, you're going to want to take the tray cover off, and you want to get this tray as close to your lights as possible. Probably within an inch or two from the lights is good. And I would say 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Some people want the lights on a little longer. 14 hours on, 10 hours off. I'm sure it's not a huge difference, but the 12-12 is easy for me. But as they grow, you're going to want to just move them away from the light, but you want to keep them as close to that light as you can. That way they don't get leggy and, just try and shoot right up to catch the light. You can make them nice and strong. If you've got a fan, you can have a fan blowing in the room. That's always helps to kind of move the air around and to help strengthen the stem of the plant. Other than that, you'd be pretty much good to go. You got to kind of do this to get started, but, it's a good place to start. Any questions, let me know. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We have 18 acres that we're slowly developing a homestead up north, and we're excited, to have people follow along. Most of the videos that we would put up are from when we go up there and do a little bit of land clearing and work on, our cabin shabbing. And, you can kind of get updates on what's going on up there and watch that develop. And, if you're on Instagram and Facebook, you can find us there at ShabinLife. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and hope this helped, and hope you got a couple tips and tricks out of it. Like I said, any questions, let me know. And otherwise, have a great day, and look forward to next time.